The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
Okay, let's go.
So what exactly is a deep shallow dive? Think of it as a straightforward approach that simplifies a complex and significant concept into an easily understandable explanation. The deep part is about really getting to know the heart of the matter. The shallow part means you don't get lost in too much information. The dive part is about diving into the topic to grasp the essentials and truly then understand it. Although it has nothing to do with water or scuba diving, it's like snorkeling. You go underwater to see amazing things and enjoy, but you stay close to the surface so you can always come back up for air. This method lets you truly understand something important, but in a way that's clear and not overwhelming. Happy Monday to all. There is another little 1-minute segment from the Deep Shallow Dive Into You book. I thought I would maybe read that today to get things started. Anyway, I hope everybody had a great weekend. Man, lots took place this weekend, and we've got a lot of good stuff to cover this week. So today being Monday, gosh, I feel like today is actually the first day back, because I think last week was a pretty chill week overall for everybody. So this is probably the first day everybody's back at work. I think the kids are back at school. So 2024 has officially started. All right, a quick shout out, a repeat shout out actually. And this one is the headliner is Todd Keene, and then the supporting cast is his lovely wife Amber, both of whom I went to college with and have mentioned before in the podcast. But I on Saturday morning, I got a nice text from Amber, and she texted me a picture of Todd's wrist, which was donning his Fitbit, and basically told me he is obsessed after day 2 or 3. He won't listen to me about getting healthier and losing weight, but thank goodness for DSD. So that was awesome. I appreciate it. She went on to tell me that he made an appointment with his primary care doctor. He requested blood test. So that's awesome, Todd. I love that. And my commitment to them back was whenever they get those results, I would love to go over them with them. So anyway, just to revisit that from last week, for all you out there, it's not too late. Let's use this week as the kickoff. Just weigh yourself. I promise this is a really good thing. Even if you don't weigh yourself for the rest of the year, step 1 in 2024, get access to a scale, preferably in the morning before you've eaten anything or done anything. If you want to tip the scales in your favor, pun intended, do it after you maybe go number 2, so you're slightly lighter. But weigh yourself. Just get a weight. Make an iPhone note or a calendar event in your phone that measures your weight, and let's have that as a baseline to compare for next year. From there, if you haven't been to the doctor in a while, like Todd and I are both doing, schedule an appointment with your primary care physician. Prior to that, ask them to send in a lab work request. Most of the time that goes to either Quest or LabCorp or whomever the blood corporation in your area is, but get a standard, lab. They'll know exactly what it is. Just say, hey, I'd like to get all my standard, blood work worked up prior to my appointment so we can come in and talk about those. So make that appointment, and hopefully, I'd really love it if by the 15th or let's say the month of January, that everybody that is really interested in this has their lab work done. They've measured their weight. Again, whether you're doing that every day, it doesn't matter. Let's just get one baseline so then we can compare either in January of 2025 or maybe even late December of 2025. But anyway, let's not forget about our health, seriously. And, somebody called me over the weekend, a good friend of mine from the Oklahoma area, and he was like, hey, do you really you seem to be harping on weight a lot these days. Why are you so adamant about this? And, I will say, I think it all comes down to weight. I really do. I think weight is absolutely one of, if not the key for, really good health. And a lot of that centers around the fact that obviously when you are carrying excess weight in your body, you're making everything work that much harder. You're making your heart work that much harder. You're making your immune system work that much harder. You're making your circulation system work that much harder. And, it really is a huge factor. And you look at cities where people walk a lot. Like, for example, New York City, I think San Francisco, people walk a lot. Chicago, people walk a decent amount. London, people walk a lot. You really don't see as many overweight people. Let's take New York City as the best example. Whenever I go to New York, I don't see that many, or I guess as many overweight people as I see in, maybe not in California, because it's a little bit healthier of a lifestyle out here due to the weather, really. But compared to most other cities, New Yorkers are definitely less overweight. And I think that really has to do with the walking. So really, that's why I harp on weight so much. And I'm going to continue to harp on weight, because I truly think getting your weight down to where you want it to be, it absolutely makes a difference. And it's like a trickle down effect to the rest of your health. All right. So I'm just going to talk about a few things today. One of the things, man, I don't know if everyone is in tune with this stuff the way I am, but the comedian Katt Williams went on Shannon Sharpe. For those of you that don't know Shannon Sharpe, former NFL tight end, actually Hall of Fame tight end, and now turned broadcaster. He's got a new program called Club Shea, which is actually hilarious. It's really well done, and he's doing incredibly well with it. But Katt Williams, the comedian, went on Club Shea, and holy guacamole, gosh, he truly set the internet on fire with his 2.5 hour or 2 hour and 46-minute interview with Shannon on Club Shea. I just looked on YouTube. It has been out for 4 days. I think it launched on Friday, and it has 34 million views. 34 million views in 4 days. And that's just the full episode. From there, they've cut up a variety of clips, and each of those clips has 6 million, 5 million, God, unbelievable. But in that interview, Katt Williams just goes to town on a ton of people. It's really going after some other black comedians like Cedric the Entertainer, Kevin Hart, Chris Tucker. He goes after hip-hop rapper Ludacris, talks about P. Diddy. Man, P. Diddy's got some weird stuff that's come out about him. I guess that people have known for a long time, but it's coming to the mainstream now. But man, Katt went off in this thing. And, he talks about how Hollywood really is this, this beast of a system, which, there's always been talk about the casting couch. And obviously you've got the Harvey Weinstein related stuff that came to fruition in the Me Too movement. He does talk about Harvey Weinstein in this. Anyway, let me play a small little clip, because this was one of the clips that, is really relevant with not the other big story, but a other big story that's taking place right now.
The Chris Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker, not Smokey.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
This statement from Katt Williams was one of the realest statements from his interview. As you can see here, Chris Tucker was on Jeffrey Epstein's flight log. He was on a flight with President William J. Clinton, none other than Bill Clinton himself. He was on the flight with Kevin Spacey, There you can see his name, Chris Tucker, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Anyway, that was a TikToker that did a really thorough analysis on all of that. But if you are looking for an entertaining, I guess, either episode on the Club Shea podcast, or if you want to watch it on YouTube, it's pretty hardcore. But he brings up a lot of things that I think are going to come to the table in 2024. You know, I said in an episode last week, I think there's going to be an awakening that happens for people. I really do. You know, the Golden Globes were on last night, and I looked at the ratings, and it looks like they were the lowest ratings in the history of the Golden Globes. And so I think people are just, they're a little disenchanted with the things that, you know, maybe they had previously been enchanted with for many, many years. And like I said, you know, this Jeffrey Epstein situation, this thing is really, it's very much intertwined into a lot of stuff that's going on. You know, this did not happen overnight. This absolutely did not happen overnight. You know, the entire story about Epstein, I'm debating a deep shallow dive on that because, man, that is a can of worms, but maybe I will do it. But what I will tell you is what took place with Jeffrey Epstein was not by accident. You know, he was not by accident. That was an absolutely designed person put in a position to basically, for lack of a better way to say it, to get a bunch of dirt or get dirt on really important people in case that dirt needed to be leveraged at some point, and really to have leverage on those people. So anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. But the Katt Williams on Club Shea, very entertaining and brings up a lot of things that are just absolutely going to make you cringe. Lastly, a lot of credit to Shannon Sharpe. I thought he did a great job. He's actually really excelling in this role. I really like Shannon Sharpe in what he's doing. I like him way more than I like, you know, for example, Stephen A. Smith, who just seems to yell all the time. All right, another thing that I wanted to talk about in a clip I'm going to play for you is, you know, I mentioned this, God, I don't even remember, maybe a week or two ago. And, you know, obviously the situation in Gaza between Palestine and Israel continues. And, you know, I do think, I mean, it's terrible to even say this, but it really is the truth. You know, people get fatigued with stories. And I hate to say that because the suffering and the innocent civilian lives that are being lost, the journalists that are being killed there, you know, their lives are worthy of us not getting fatigued. They really are. But, you know, unfortunately, the reality of really human beings' life, and especially life today with social media, is you do get fatigued. So the story kind of falls a little bit by the wayside in terms of the front and center in your face, but it's still happening. It's definitely still happening, and it doesn't seem to be subsiding anytime soon. You know, Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, really said this is going to last all of 2024. I definitely think that statement is on purpose. Like I said, things are going to continue into the election for sure. You've had the same statement about the Russia-Ukraine war. That's going to last, again, all of 2024. So is this all a setup for a bigger global multi-country conflict that will start to add wars, and therefore in 2024 the world will be at war, and therefore the United States will not conduct an election? Oh man, those are some dots. Let's see if they end up connecting. But anyway, the clip I want to play is, you know, when I've talked about Hamas. The one thing I've always said is, they're kind of like the boogeyman. They don't really have an identity. And so I mentioned the leader's name, Yahya Sinwar, and it's pretty funny. I mean, this guy's name and face are popping up everywhere.
Do you know where Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas commander believed to have planned these attacks, is right now?
Well, I don't think that this information is available with anyone except, the people who are close to him. And this is an information really that doesn't relate much to what we are doing right now and on the ongoing negotiations. Our communication throughout the years that we had with Hamas has been very exclusive to the political wing and the political representatives in the office here in Doha, and that's it. And we don't deal directly with or never have any dealing with the military wing.
That was CBS Face the Nation this weekend talking to the Prime Minister of Qatar. Some people call it Qatar. I call it Qatar. And I call BS on all of that. Give me a break, man. Come on. Like Qatar, like I said previously, it is this puny little super oil-rich country, and supposedly Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas, lives there. I mean, there's probably like 60 people that live there. No, I'm just kidding. It's bigger than that. But again, my point is, if they wanted to give him up, and if the United States applied enough pressure to get him, they would have that dude on a silver platter with a bow wrapped around him in like 1 second. So I call BS on all that. I think it's all just shenanigans and things that are part of all this craziness that seems to have some type of bigger agenda behind it that I am trying to figure out. All right, 2 quick final things for today. One is, some of you might have seen the event in Miami, Florida, down in like South Beach area, although it was on the other side, on New Year's Day, where, I mean, this was insane. There were like 600 police cars. I mean, unbelievable event. It's kind of been all over social media. Anyway, the police came out and said it was a bunch of teenagers setting off fireworks at people, but the police response does not warrant anything like that. And then there was a bunch of talk on the internet that supposedly there were 10-foot alien creature monsters that were at the mall and that they came from Cuba. Again, just all nonsense to me. I mean, I have no idea what the reality of it was, but the teenagers and the aliens, both of them, do not hold any water with me. I think it was some type of event to really just see what reaction. I don't know. Crazy. But I will tell you, I put together a little AI generated clip about it, and I put that thing on TikTok, and it literally has 120,000 views in like 48 hours on TikTok. So obviously people are trying to figure out what the heck went on in Miami. All right, last thing is, speaking of TikTok, they continue to come under fire.
Some supporters of Israel have suggested that TikTok is not only promoting anti-Israel sentiment, but just outright anti-Semitism, which also would feed into the Chinese government's anti-Western goals. Is there evidence of that you've seen?
All right, that was CNN's Jake Tapper. That was the first time, they've talked about the anti-Semitism thing on TikTok. But again, like I said, I mean, I spend time on TikTok looking at what content is being created, and I don't see it as anti-Semitism. I see it as the young generation, a lot of these young kids basically expressing their views, and their views happen to favor Palestine. But again, I don't think they're not favoring the Palestinian people versus the Israeli people, they're favoring the Palestinian people versus what the Israeli government seems to be doing to those people, which obviously is not nice. So I think it's more about that. But that was the first time I've seen them now equate anti-Semitism and TikTok to the Chinese and talk about that, linking those two. So, man, inner moving parts that really don't fit, but they're trying to make them fit. So I think they took a little heat for that. And so then this was the follow-up.
And of course, we should point out there's a big difference between criticizing Israel or being pro-Palestinian and like being anti-Semitic, which is, those are three different things. You've described TikTok as digital fentanyl. And we know social media can be addicting. And look, TikTok is addicting. It's a great app. But TikTok in particular, because it is such a well-done app, it's very popular, especially among younger Americans. And I just wonder, can the genie even be put back into the bottle?
Oh my God. All right, deep shallow dive coming on fentanyl. But to call TikTok digital fentanyl, I think he meant it on the surface as being addictive, but fentanyl kills people. I don't really think TikTok kills people. So that was a crazy analogy in my opinion. And just another one, like I said, they're mixing narratives. And last but not least, I'm going to leave you with this. Call a spade, give this a listen, pay particular attention to the ending.
TikTok is increasingly a news platform for young Americans. It's not just about the data, it's not just about the spying or the espionage. It's whether we want to allow it to become the dominant news platform in America. And I think that's a risk we can't take.
This episode was brought to you by Boost Liquid Vitamins. Wake up, take your Boost, start your day. Drink your vitamins, build your immune system with Boost. Available on Boost.com.